We had a shocking split screen yesterday in the United States. We had lawyers, judges, law students, people who are students of our constitutional republic, people who are in favor and defend the rule of law in the streets of America, not protesting Trump per se, but defending the rule of law on rule of law or Law Day, May 1st of every year since 1958, but now more important than ever. But that was on one side of the screen. On the other side, deafening silence by the Trump administration, its Department of Justice, its lead lawyers, to even acknowledge that there was a rule of law, Law Day at all. And not only do we have that split screen, but we had another split screen that actually summed it up for me in its entirety. At the same time that Donald Trump went to the University of Alabama and gave a speech on campus about and his attack, his relentless attack on the rule of law and on federal judges, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, the youngest Supreme Court justice, and my vote to be Chief Justice of the United States in 2028, she broke her silence and did an extraordinary thing at a judicial conference in Puerto Rico, where she addressed what she referred to as the elephant in the room and defended judges against the onslaught of attack by Donald Trump. And I'm going to cover it right here, the only way I know how, without blowing smoke or sunshine, here on Legal AF. Well, I got you, and I have your attention. We need more support. The support's great, but we need more subscribers. It's all for free. It helps me bolt on new points of view, new voices as we continue to expand this channel that I curate at the intersection of law and politics. So hit the subscribe button and help us there as well. Let's get back to this split screen moment. The world has divided into two groups of people: those that are in favor and understand and have a deep, abiding appreciation for the rule of law and its foundational principles under our constitutional republic. A constitutional republic, a form of government that is so fragile to begin with, that famously, when one of the founding fathers was leaving the Continental Congress, or was leaving Philadelphia while they were forming our government, somebody in the street asked, Dr. Franklin, to Ben Franklin, what is our form of government? He said, it's a constitutional republic if you can keep it, because it's fragile, it's delicate, it's balanced, it has a foundation that can be cracked and hammered, which is what we're watching Donald Trump do. And so once a year, especially in the era of a felon president, we need to celebrate the rule of law. And that's what you saw. We'll throw some clips up here. That's what you saw across America yesterday in a round I wouldn't call it protest. I'd call it celebration, fellowship, unity around a common cause to defend our democracy. And at that very same time, while that was going on, a deafening silence by those that wear the United States of America on the back of their jersey and go into the courts allegedly to defend liberty and justice, and the Trump administration. Not one speech, not one posting, not one press release, nothing from Pam Bondi or any of her hench people, from Emile Beauvais to Todd Blanche to Harmeet Dillon, to John Sauer, the Solicitor General of the United States, who's considered to be the 10th Justice of the United States, nothing to acknowledge Law Day and the rule of law. Does it shock you and surprise you that the only person in the history of our United States of America who was ever elected president after being convicted as a felon, or who installed as a president, would not acknowledge that day? That's an uncomfortable day for him. He must have been like, I'm burning. Oh, God. So Ketanji Brown Jackson, who rarely speaks aloud, she had one speech at a church a couple of years ago talking about affirmative action and the role in her life and all of that, and having somebody give her a helping hand up. She was at a conference for the First Circuit, which covers Puerto Rico and Maine and some other places. And during it, she said, I'm going to address the elephant in the room on this Law Day. She kind of took that into her her fiber of her being. And this is what she had to say. And then I'm going to show you the clip of what Donald Trump did on the very same time at the very same day. She said, across the nation, and if I had a clip, I would show it to you, but we don't have a clip. This is from reporting in the room. Across the nation, judges are facing increased threats of not only physical violence, but also professional retaliation just for doing our jobs. And the attacks are not random, she said. They seem designed to intimidate those of us who serve in this critical capacity. Again, never mentioning Trump by name, but addressing the elephant in the room. She said on Thursday, in these remarks, it can sometimes take raw courage to remain steadfast in doing what the law requires. I'm sure she's acknowledging somebody like Judge Hannah Dugan, Milwaukee Circuit Court, who was criminally had charges brought against her federally because she was doing her job of protecting the rule of law in Wisconsin by this Trump administration. She said, a society in which judges are routinely made to fear for their own safety or their own livelihood due to their decisions is one that substantially departs from the norms of behavior that govern a democratic system. Attacks on judicial independence is how countries that are not free, not fair, and not a rule of law oriented operate. And then when she noted that this was Law Day, the National Law Day, she said, and with demonstrations everywhere by lawyers, she said, I'm going to take a point of personal privilege to reaffirm the significance of judicial independence and to denounce attacks on judges based on their rules. And at that very same time, as people took to the streets, Donald Trump took to a podium on a stage in the University of Alabama. And here's what he had to say.
But they have to let us do the job that the voters want us to do. Judges are interfering supposedly based on due process, but how can you give due process to people who came into our country illegally? They want to give them due process. I don't know.
The stark the contrast couldn't be more stark, right, between these two events. Now, for those that don't know Ketanji Brown Jackson, let me just give you a little bit of an overview. She's the youngest United States Supreme Court justice on the bench right now. I believe she is the intellectual fulcrum for that court. She is the intellectual leader, certainly, of the moderates and Democrats and the fair-minded people. I would be shocked if when the Democrats regain the White House, Ketanji Brown Jackson isn't the Chief Justice. I would be shocked if that she would be my vote. It would certainly happen now if we had the right kind of president in office. And all I've watched from the moment she got on the bench, when usually justices take 2 or 3 years to get their bearings and before they even ask questions, Clarence Thomas famously didn't ask questions for the first almost 15 years. I'm not making that up. Ketanji Brown Jackson from the beginning started going after and doing insightful, surgical cross-examination of advocates in that courtroom, demonstrating intellectual gifts that I don't think are matched in that room. And that always impressed me, how she so gets to the points with a scalpel so quickly and walks people, who she doesn't agree with, right into a trap of her making. I want to show you a clip of Ketanji Brown Jackson talking about what has happened ever since the Supreme Court, not including her, ruled in favor of Donald Trump and immunity. So you get a little taste of who Ketanji Brown Jackson is. Let's roll the clip.
In your dissent, you wrote that the court declared for the first time in history that the most powerful official in the United States can, under circumstances yet to be fully determined, become a law unto himself. It sounds like a warning.
Well, I mean, that was my view of what the court determined.
You were concerned about broad immunity.
I was concerned about a system that appeared to provide immunity for one individual under one set of circumstances, when we have a criminal justice system that had ordinarily treated everyone the same.
Are you prepared that this election could end up before the Supreme Court?
as prepared as anyone can be. Let me ask you, are you prepared for all of the news cycles that you're getting as a result of this election?
No.
No, exactly. I mean, I think there are legal issues that arise out of the political process. And so the Supreme Court has to be prepared to respond if that should be necessary.
It is important that we acknowledge justices who against much, showing much political courage. This is against who she is to speak publicly about this. This is against her morals about sort of how a judge should comport themselves. But it is so important to her at this moment that we and history hear her voice, that she's taken the opportunity to do it at this conference. I wanted to report on it right here on Legal AF because it's that important. I'm sure I'll do another hot take over the weekend about Donald Trump bashing Ketanji Brown Jackson. He's done it before. He called her a crazy liberal activist judge originally when she was nominated. He made fun of her on the campaign trail at that time. So get ready. We're going to get a screed sometime late tonight, and I'll report on it. But Ketanji Brown Jackson won't take the bait, and she will not respond except in oral arguments and rulings. Remember, Donald Trump needs every vote he can get on that United States Supreme Court. The last two rulings have been 9-0 against him and 7-2 against him by the United States Supreme Court. He can't afford to be seen to be antagonizing Ketanji Brown Jackson, who has her supporters. Because what she's going to do effectively, that we're going to watch over the next 2 years at least, is she's going to lobby somebody like Amy Coney Barrett to come over to the other side. She's going to use her intellectual gifts and heft to bring John Roberts over to the other side. And on things that matter, where the Constitution, the fight for the Constitution, the life or death struggle exists at the 5-4 decisions of the Supreme Court, it's Ketanji Brown Jackson who's going to bring people over. Hopefully we brought you over to Legal AF. And while you're here, hit the subscribe button. We got a brand new Substack. You heard it. We got a brand new Substack, Legal AF Substack. Can't get enough of Legal AF. I can't. Come on over there. We're posting the court cases, the court filings, audio versions of our podcast without ads, my analysis, and every day a morning AF. What else from me about what I'm watching, what I've just seen, and what I think I'm about to see at the intersection of law and politics. So thanks for joining us here on Legal AF. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.